I just know Elon Musk saw Nosferatu and he was like, I want to look like that.
It.
That's what he showed his
That's
surgeon.
The peak male specimen.
And then he started taking Ozempic.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Scary Movie Nights podcast, a bi-weekly podcast where the scares are real, but the friendships are realer. Today, we will be discussing the 1922 silent film Nosferatu. That's Mariana.
And that's Joanne.
And we are your hosts for the morning?
Morning?
Because usually we record at night,
yeah,
but
it's
today
10:45 a.m.
It's 10:45 a.m. So I'm like in my gym clothes, we're like comfy clothes. Yeah,
basically in pajamas.
Oh my god! But first, Mariana, let me ask you, what had you rising from your coffin this week?
Thank you so much for asking. I actually have an answer immediately. It's Paul Mescal in Gladiator 2.
You know what?
What about you?
I'm going to continue that trend and say Paul Mescal's thighs specifically in Gladiator 2.
His arms. He just looks so beefy.
Oh my god, he does look beefy. And I love that they didn't do like the whole... By the way, guys, we watched Gladiator 2 last night, which was incredible, by the way.
Yeah, amazing.
I mean, it's basically
for the plot, obviously.
But yeah, totally.
The plot.
Yeah, right. So... It's basically a rehashed script from like Gladiator 1.
Yeah.
I feel like it had a lot of the same story beats, but
yes.
Man, does it work so well.
I really loved it.
It was so good.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and then obviously Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal as well.
Yes. Oh, I loved him.
He was so good. He was so
much.
good. Yeah. I think they did a great time casting the film, and then the director, was it also Ridley Scott? Yeah. So... Definitely, if you haven't watched Gladiator 2, I recommend that film as well.
Yeah, go see it. And if you can see it in IMAX, do that.
Yes. So
Paul
apparently...
Mescal's thighs on IMAX.
Oh my God.
That's the way they were meant to be enjoyed.
Period. So that was a good one. Yeah. I'm so happy that you mentioned that. I love how you were absolutely ready with
I was ready this time. I was like looking through the Murnau show and I was like, oh... Obviously. I know what made me rise out of my coffin this week.
Yeah, and surprisingly, it was only in IMAX. It's only in IMAX for like 5 days, at least here in this city. I'm not sure if other cities will be, but I think it's because of Wicked.
Maybe.
I think it's because of Wicked. I think Wicked's gonna dominate.
Yeah.
But man, it's like the IMAX theater for Gladiator 2 was, I think it was like just as full as the Wicked one.
Yeah, it was packed.
So both excellent films, by the way. So watch Wicked, watch Gladiator 2.
Yes.
Yay. So I guess enough about that, right?
Enough of Paul Mescal.
I'm still thinking about Paul Mescal. Let's bite into Nosferatu. So this is our pre-spoiler section, but I do want to say before we even get started on that Robert Eggers, who by the way is my favorite director at this time, he's releasing a remake of Nosferatu on Christmas Day. So we're really excited to see that. I've been waiting for this film for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years or something.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Ever since there were like rumors of him remaking Nosferatu.
There's been rumors for a while and it was kind of like, will they, won't they do it?
Yeah.
And I read, as I was doing my research, that Anya Taylor-Joy was supposed to be part of it. I don't know if she's going to be in it.
He loves her.
I mean, I love her.
Oh, yeah. What's not to love?
Yeah, I don't know if she's nowhere in the trailers, but maybe we'll catch a glimpse of her beautiful face, but
hopefully. We'll see. She does really well in his films.
Yeah, The Witch, obviously.
The Witch and The Northman. Yeah, which is also an excellent film. Less horror, more action-y.
Okay.
But it does still have horror elements. Okay. We should watch it one day.
We should.
It's really good. Anyway, so all that to say, if you want to go into Robert Eggers' Nosferatu knowing absolutely nothing about plot, etc., then I would suggest maybe waiting till to watch Nosferatu and then listening to this episode.
Yeah.
But for the pre-spoiler section, we're just gonna try to, as much as possible, to like dive into like the history, fun fact, background.
I will say, since we're talking about no spoilers, this movie is 102 years old this year. Right. Not only that, but this movie is basically the story of Dracula, which most people know. And I'll talk more about that in a little while. So it's a little bit hard to go into Nosferatu with
right,
no
spoilers. Yeah. And honestly, like, especially if you're worried about spoilers for the 1922 film specifically, be really real with yourself. Are you gonna sit down and watch a 1922 silent film? It's up to you, listener, whether you want to, listen to us yap about Nosferatu 1922. Choose your own destiny, as the great philosopher Britney Spears once said.
Didn't they say something like that at Gladiator 2 also?
Yes, he was like, that's not my destiny.
That's not my destiny. That's not his journey.
That's not his journey.
Where death is, he is not.
Right. Honestly, sometimes I am really reminded that I am both Big Dumb and ESL, because whenever he was saying that quote, I was like, what does he mean?
I can't tell if it's like really good and really deep, or just like very like obvious. It's like where death is, I am not, and where I am, death is not. And I'm like,
what does that?
Yeah, like,
I have to really dissect that.
That's like my favorite quote from Bob's Burgers. That's today is tomorrow's yesterday. Like, yes, it's just today is tomorrow's yesterday.
It's like, yep, that is true. You know that gif with Kermit the Frog and what's his name? Bateman, guy who played Batman.
Yeah.
What the heck is his name? What is his name?
Which one?
The guy who played Batman, the most recent. No, not the most recent one.
Oh my God, there have been.
Yes. Before Ben Affleck.
He was in Psycho, American Psycho.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Dude, do you remember?
No, wait, don't tell me, because he's also the voice of Howl in Howl's Moving Castle.
Listen, Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, yeah.
I think I was thinking of Jason Bateman. Wait. Anyway, that gif where they're just like nodding at each other.
I've not seen that. Wait.
I use that so much because like sometimes when people say stupid shit, I'm like, yeah.
Bale gif. You say GIF?
I say GIF, yeah. I say GIF. No, it's GIF.
It's okay. Okay, it seems for graphic with this sound, but okay. Oh my God, a house divided. Will we stand? Oh my God, wait, this is so good.
Yeah. Maybe I'll put it. Like when they're just like nodding at it. Mm-hmm. Today is tomorrow's yesterday. Yep.
That's crazy. Wait, I've never seen that before. That's so good.
Oh my God. Anyway, so pre-spoiler section, Mariana. Take it away.
I'll take it away. I'm going to go with our no spoiler synopsis. Shout out to ChatGPT.
Chatty.
Okay, so Nosferatu 1922 is a pioneering silent horror film directed by F.W. Murnau. It tells the story of a young man named Hooter, who travels to a remote castle in Transylvania to assist Count Orlok, a mysterious nobleman with a real estate deal. During his stay, Hooter begins to suspect that Orlok is not an ordinary man, and soon realizes that he is dealing with something far more sinister. As Orlok sets his sights on Hooter's home city, a growing sense of dread envelops everyone involved. The film is famous for its haunting visuals, especially the eerie and unsettling appearance of Count Orlok, portrayed by Max Schreck, whose grotesque appearance sets the standard for depictions of vampires in cinema. Nosferatu is considered one of the most influential films in the horror genre, notable for its expressionist style, atmospheric cinematography, and its lasting impact on vampire mythology.
That's a great synopsis.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a great one.
That is a good one. ChatGPT, come on. Good job.
Thanks, Chatty.
Okay, so it was directed by F.W. Murnau. I'll talk more about him later. He was gay.
Oh, really?
In fact, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I'll get to this later. Actually, you know what? No, I'll talk about it now.
Yeah, why not?
So this movie began production in 1921. So this was a little bit after the First World War. And actually both the producer, who was what's his first name? Albin Grau. He was a war veteran, and so was Murnau, the director. And I think that had a lot of influence on them. Specifically, Grau encountered a farmer while he was, serving for Germany, and the farmer claimed that his father was an undead vampire. And then Murnau himself was also a war veteran, and he served as a commander, and then later he was a pilot and survived a bunch of crashes and stuff. And he was gay, and he had a partner who was a poet, a German poet, who actually died in the war. And so from what I read, it like influenced like his directorial style.
Okay. That's a lot of like background.
Yeah.
Lots of lore there.
Yeah, a lot of lore.
He lived a life. Do you know how old he was when he made this movie? Do you happen to know?
Let me see.
Because like I'm 32 and I'm just like.
So he was shooting in 1920 and he was born in 1888. Someone do the math because I can't. So he was around 30 something.
1988. So no. Wait, what was?
He
when
died
was
at
he born?
42. Actually, in 1931. So if we work, he was 32 when he started making this film.
Okay, because he's lived like 500,000 lifetimes compared to me.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I woke up this morning and I was so eepy still. I just went back to bed and this person's like gone to war and all that stuff.
Yeah, literally.
You know,
I mean, he was a pilot and he served, like, imagine surviving a bunch of like fucking plane crashes. Like,
I mean, really, crazy. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, like surviving one, like that's like a story, but several, like, whoa. So he was 32 when he directed this film, and he
32.
died young at 42.
I'm so glad you can do math.
Thank you. Okay, I wouldn't have been able to do it from the birth date, but he died in 1931 and the movie started shooting in 1921, so I just had to subtract 10, which was easier. I'll talk about the production of the film, and then I'll talk about some themes in the film. Now, the producer, Grau, I mentioned him earlier. He used his war experience as inspiration for making this vampire film, and he was a lifelong student of the occult. So this dude was like a weirdo. What else? Oh, I lost my part. Yeah, he was a lifelong student of the occult. He was into like alchemy and like these weird languages. And actually the note that Count Orlok and Nock exchange, that's kind of like how they communicate because they're in different places. Yeah. It's filled with Enochian and alchemical symbols that the producer drew himself. And this producer was like super involved. Apparently he designed the film sets, costumes, makeup, and he even designed some really cool posters for the film. So I'll pull those up and show them to you, and then we can put them on the screen. So
Albin Grau, he was German?
Yeah.
So that's very, very interesting to me. I wonder if there was this time period specifically, if like the occult and stuff like that was like particularly popular.
Yeah, I don't.
Because I know, for example, you know, and there's more history here too that we can tackle later, but I know like the Nazi regime, Hitler especially, was very focused on like the occult, and he was like really into that. So I'm like, I wonder where like the maybe like there was something in German culture at the time that like really was into like the occult and alchemy. And
I think the context of, you know, that time period really informed a lot of the stuff in this film, and I'll talk more about that in just a moment. But I wanted to show you the posters are freaking cool. Like, this is one.
Ooh.
So Grau like designed them himself, and this is another one.
Oh my god,
they're really cool.
That's really cool.
I know.
Wait, so like definitely save those because maybe we'll put it on the video.
Yeah, I link them in our show notes.
Great.
For the screenplay, Henrik Galeen was tasked to write it, and this movie is based on Bram Stoker's Dracula. And I'll talk more about, because actually Bram Stoker's wife sued the production company later on.
Did they not credit him? I guess that maybe they didn't give him money.
They didn't have rights. To make this film. So they changed the setting. So it was set in the German town of Wisborg, and then they changed the character's name. Obviously, it's not Dracula, Count Orlok. They also added the plague aspect with the rats on the ship. But it was they totally took the story. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That would not fly in today's America, especially.
Whoa. No, so I'll talk about it now, but Florence Stoker, this was after Bram Stoker had died, so she was widowed. She sued the studio and the production company, but the production company, which was Prana Film, it was actually already bankrupt. They apparently spent a crazy amount of money marketing this film. So then the next best thing she could try to do. She was trying to destroy all of the copies of this film, but she, I mean, obviously she failed in her efforts, but she, for a very long time before she died, was just trying to seek out and destroy all these copies.
She was a vampire hunter.
Yeah. And like in the Wikipedia, it was like, much like Nosferatu, this movie was really hard to kill.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Right? I thought that was super interesting.
That's kind of petty, I think.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Just like, oh yeah, watch this.
Yeah, and she was just going around and burning them.
Yeah. Oh.
Now for the music, the original score was by Hans Erdmann, and it was actually performed by an orchestra, like at the premiere in Berlin.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Which I hadn't really thought about, but like, of course, like it was a silent film, and they couldn't, like, they didn't have speakers to play the audio, so they had like a live orchestra, which I think is really, really cool. But actually, a lot of the original score was lost. We only had like a partial, like, adapted suite, which remained. So throughout the years since 1922, there has been several different scores by several different composers to go along with this film.
So I wonder
which one did we watch?
Yeah, and I wonder which one people decided, because like now that digital copy has that audio, and like that's the audio of the film now. So I wonder who decided like this is the one.
Yeah, I have no idea. I didn't.
I will say the music was good though.
Yeah, no, it was.
I mean, that's the only thing you're listening to the entire time. So you have to kind of focus on the music as well.
But I thought that was kind of interesting. So maybe Miss Stoker really did an okay job destroying things.
Her legacy is felt. Her actions have echoed through time. What was the quote?
The filming of this film began in 1921. And they actually only used one camera, and there was only one single original negative for this film.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. I was thinking about like, how do they edit this film? Like, they just like glued the little strips of negative together. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of crazy
I think that's how that works. Yeah, like people actually, like, that was a whole profession, right? Like editing, like cutting the clips and glue. Yeah.
Well, that's why it's called cutting now.
Right, because they cut the strips.
Yeah.
Oh.
Every time I figure stuff out like that, I'm like, that's so obvious.
That's big brain time.
Whoa, we're learning. Okay, now I want to talk about really quickly some themes in this film. So a really big one was the other. And I read about how this movie possibly had like this anti-Semitic theme through Nosferatu's or Count Orlok's exaggerated features, the nose, the bald head, and so that got compared to caricatures of Jewish people. The Count wanting to move into the town represented these fears that the German public would have had at the time in 1922. There's also a theme of occultism. So another way that they deviated... Sorry, that was my computer. Another way that they deviated from Bram Stoker's Dracula is that the Count Orlok, is a creation of Belial, who is a demon from, like, the Bible, and he's been written about outside of Bram Stoker's Dracula, and he's associated with pestilence, hence the rats and the plague. So they did add some original aspects to it. And then there's also like this happened right after World War I, and like I mentioned, the producer, he served on the Serbian front. The director himself was also a war vet, and Max Schreck, who played Count Orlok, he also served in the trenches of the Great War with the German army.
Whoa, there's a lot of background here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of background, especially like you said, like from the occult.
Yeah.
Demonology, of course. And
I know you're into that.
Girl, I'm like, okay, like demonology has been so prevalent in our culture for so long.
Yeah, literally.
You know what I mean? Because I'm reading here, Belial, the lieutenant demon of Satan, literally. So Orlok is believed to have been created by Belial, as you mentioned. I wonder, like, so, regardless of what's happening today in today's world, the Jewish people have experienced a lot of discrimination and persecution. Yeah, throughout history. And so it's interesting that there are some Jewish characteristics that they try to push onto Count Orlok.
Yeah.
And that paired with the demonology aspect of like Jewish people.
And the rats.
Like bringing pestilence. Like there was a lot of fears. And,
I mean,
you know,
this is all like what people think.
Right.
I actually did read that the director, Murnau, was that sounds really silly, but pro-Jewish people and like had Jewish friends, and I think another actor in the film was Jewish, and so I don't know that necessarily like the director, I don't know that was
his purpose
necessarily, but it does look a little bit weird. And then the director himself, like I mentioned earlier, he was a homosexual, so he was also like someone who would have been persecuted at the time.
That's very interesting. I mean, there are definitely themes of that as well through the persecution of particular characters.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about that in our post-spoiler section.
I remember just now, it was the actor that plays Snock was Jewish.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And he was Alexander Granak.
Okay.
He was Jewish.
Yeah.
Now, did I talk about production? I did. Oh, I want to talk about the derivation from the novel. So this is, I'm going to be transparent here. This is all from Wikipedia. Shout out to Wikipedia. But obviously the setting was transferred. So Dracula takes place in Britain in 1890s, and this was changed to Germany in 1938. It's similar to Dracula, but readapts the core characters. So they do change the names of the characters. It says Mina and Jonathan Harker are renamed Ellen and Thomas Hooter. Ellen now occasionally sleepwalks instead of Lucy. Mina's friend and Dracula's first victim in Britain. Obviously, they changed the name of Count Dracula to Count Orlok. And this name was also changed depending on the country where the movie was screened. He is believed to have been created by Belial, this lieutenant demon of Satan. In contrast to Dracula, Orlok does not create other vampires, but kills his victims. And that's why all of these deaths are being blamed on this plague and these rats. Orlok also has to sleep by day, as sunlight would kill him. And in the original Dracula is only weakened by sunlight, so he's not killed by it. So I would say that's a huge difference. Also, I think it's just really awesome the scope that this film has and the long-lasting effects that it has had on horror. And I have to add that Count Orlok has made multiple appearances in SpongeBob SquarePants, most notably in the episode Graveyard Shift, where he is revealed to be responsible for flickering of lights in the Krusty Krab. And actually, I mean, I love SpongeBob, and I've seen that episode before, and I never like realized who that was. I was just like, oh, that's creepy. And then I watched this movie.
Wait, let me look this up,
and
because
I
think I remember
look it
that.
up. Yeah, it's
that.
literally him like just smiling and like flicking the lights on and off.
I'm definitely looking this up. This is great. Yeah, it's just like a shot of him, like
literally, and he's just like smiling at the door. It's really funny, and so that's one of my favorite things about this film. And I think it's also like every time I watch one of these films that's like an old film that had a really big impact on the horror genre, it's weird seeing it after I've seen so many other horror movies, because I'm like, oh, like
you see some influences,
like,
right?
That's so coincidental. Like, oh my God, they did the same thing. And I'm like, no, like this movie, like this is what is it? The blueprint. This is the blueprint.
Okay, yes.
So I thought that was all really, really cool. This film was released. It actually opened in the Netherlands in February before it screened in Germany. And it has a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Whoa, awesome. I mean, well deserved.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's a great film.
And those are my fun movie facts for this film. And I just realized that I totally gave a spoiler to the ending of this film.
It's okay. We'll fix it in post.
Yeah, we'll fix it in post.
Well, speaking of, I guess we can move on to our spoiler section, right?
Yes.
So before we move on to that, just giving you guys a warning. If you haven't watched this movie, but you think you might want to, stop listening now And especially if you don't want any spoilers for maybe Robert Eggers' Nosferatu that's coming out in 2024 Christmas Day, definitely stop listening now and then start listening after you watch the film.
Yes.
If you are like, absolutely, because obviously I think it's going to be a pretty good adaptation of the film. So, spoilers are ahead.
The trailer looks amazing and the cast
Incredible.
is so stacked.
Oh my God. Yes.
Bill Skarsgård.
And 102 years later.
Count Orlok.
Oh my God. Bill Skarsgård is such a great actor for spooky
so hot.
things. What?
Yes. Are you kidding me?
Bill,
all of them. Wait.
No, not
am I thinking of the
Bill.
other one?
Are you thinking of Alexander?
No, they're all hot. What are you talking about?
Absolutely not.
Yes.
No, absolutely
Anyways,
not.
they can never make me hate. No, I think he's attractive. Like in a weird way. Like in a weird way.
Okay.
Okay, like obviously not as like Pennywise or
no,
like,
yeah, of course.
Like
Bill Skarsgård.
him and the Crow. Like, hold on.
Okay,
Hold on.
but that's like God.
Hear me out. Like,
That's okay. Well,
hear me out, Cake.
you know what? I'll give
Bill
it to you.
Skarsgård is Pennywise.
You know what? You can take Bill. I'll take Alex.
Are you kidding me?
No, yeah, totally. You can. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll take him. It's fine. It's okay. It's fine.
So, anyways, spoilers ahead.
Yes.
I do want to touch back on, because we'll probably cut that part out of the pre-spoiler section,
so
but
let's come back to
the difference between Dracula and Count Orlok.
Yeah.
Do you want to repeat what you said?
So, that was just in regards to the ending of the film. Count Orlok is destroyed by her name is Mina, right? Mina. Yes.
The person who
Hoocher's wife.
I thought it was Ellen.
I think that's the original. Yeah. Oh no, it is Ellen.
Okay.
I guess Mina is the original. That seems like it should be the other way around. Ellen sacrifices herself to Count Orlok, and she just as the sun is rising, and he dies, and that's the end of the film. That's the big spoiler.
Yeah.
But in Bram Stoker's Dracula, Dracula wasn't killed by the sun. He was kind of like annoyed by it. It was like an inconvenience, but it was not like a death threatening threat that sunlight was to Dracula.
So the weakness to sunlight, where the vampires are killed by sunlight, that came from Nosferatu. It did not come from Dracula.
Yes, it did. It came from Nosferatu.
That's really cool, because now that's like the one thing vampires have, like they can't go into sunlight or they'll be killed, except I guess Twilight vampires.
Yeah, that's a whole other
that's
thing.
A whole other
that's
thing.
A whole that's listen,
wait,
they
I don't like
are
Twilight
like
myself,
literally
but
built of stone. Like they feel like marble. Like that's canon.
The Twilight
Yes.
vampires.
The Twilight vampires are cold and they feel and look like marble, per Stephanie Meyer's writing.
Whoa. Wait, really?
Literally crazy, dude. Literally,
okay.
There's
sure,
some
why not?
weird. Listen. Also,
it's all made up anyway.
Orlok looks super inhuman and corpse-like and weird, and in Bram Stoker's Dracula looks human, which is why he's like able to mingle in the streets with people, and he just looks like a normal human. So that was also unique to Nosferatu.
I love Count Orlok. Like when Huta, there's this point when Huta is like wandering the castle during the daytime, when Count Orlok is asleep in his coffin, and he finds him in his coffin. He opens the coffin, and it looks like Count Orlok is dead.
Yes.
Which is really interesting. It gives you a different take on the word undead. Like, because vampires, like a lot of the times when you see vampires in film and books and stuff like that, except for the really crazy ones, they're like beautiful and they like act like humans and and all this other stuff.
The whole thing in Twilight is that they're built to attract you, to like attract their prey.
Okay,
and so that's why they're so beautiful.
That makes sense from a biological natural selection perspective.
Absolutely. Charles Darwin would be like...
Charles Darwin would be so proud. Be like, go off, Stephanie.
Like, that makes sense.
Charles would be like,
that's an evolutionary advantage.
Correct. What's the genotype
can see it in the embryology. What's the genotype for
what do we call this
skin?
phenotype? We call it hot.
Hot homozygous.
Hot homozygous. Oh my god, biology joke. I love it. Anyway, so, like they look so alive.
Yeah.
You know, like vampires in like our modern day thing. Like, think about Vampire Diaries too.
Yeah, that's exactly. I was
Like,
just about to bring up Damon and Stefan Salvatore.
So I never watched that, but another one is, what's that show? True Blood.
True Blood.
Vampires just seem so alive. They seem so strong. They seem da 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 da. And I love that stark contrast when Uta, whatever, however you pronounce his name, opens up Count Orlok's coffin and he looks dead.
He looks decrepit.
He looks
he's
dead.
Creepy looking.
Yeah, he's just like.
Also, I love that the teeth are different.
Yeah.
Like Count Orlok has these like really long pointy
Like
front
needle
teeth.
Yeah, like.
And you know, vampires in like True Blood or
They
know
have
Vampire
fangs.
Diaries, they have like fangs that like almost they're like retractable.
Yeah.
Just like
Yep.
they can pull them in, you know, when they want to.
Well,
look
it's
normal.
like the humanization of vampires almost in pop culture versus like the dehumanization of vampires in Nosferatu.
I will say in the Vampire Diaries, the vampires will die in sunlight. That's why Damon and Stefan Salvatore have like special rings that allow them to walk in sunlight.
What? Just jewelry?
Literally jewelry made by witches and stuff like that.
Okay, of course.
No, it's like enchanted. Yeah.
Enchanted, okay.
There's more to it.
So I love that stark contrast, and even like, because Count Orlok has this like superhuman strength, right? He's just carrying around. There's the one scene where Count Orlok is leaving his castle and then going to like his new house in Germany or whatever, and he's just carrying those coffins like nothing.
I think that was like actually when he got off the ship. He's just walking through the town.
You know when he's like packing up his when he's
his
loading up
coffins.
his little wagon, his rat soil coffins.
I love that, his little rat soil coffin. I want to know how they shot that. Like, did Max Schreck just like pick up this thing of wood? Was it made of just like balsa wood that's like super light?
Super light, probably, because girl, that's a lot.
He doesn't look like he's struggling a lot at all.
No, he doesn't.
Maybe Max Schreck just like was like really into lifting.
Oh, he's the original bodybuilder, power lifter.
Legit.
I also love how like eerie his movements seem, because like I wonder how they shaped his body, because you know, like, his body's shaped very oddly.
He's built like Groot.
He really is.
He is.
And you know, I don't know if you found this in your research, but there's a lot of parallels between the two characters. So I wonder,
Groot and Nosferatu. Wait,
like how they look.
Absolutely.
Right. So I wonder if they took Nosferatu as an inspiration for Groot.
Maybe. Whoa. I just know Elon Musk saw Nosferatu and he was like, I want to look like that.
It.
That's what he showed his surgeon.
The peak male
and then he
specimen.
Started taking Ozempic.
Anyway, so what an excellent film, though. I really enjoyed it. So like, this was my second time watching it. First time, not gonna lie, I was a little bored.
It's different. It's a silent film.
It's very different, and I think I was also a little tie. So I was, kind of struggling to get through it. The second time I watched it was much better.
Yeah.
Because I caught all the story beats a lot better the second time. And so, if you give it a watch and you're like, this is not for me, I would encourage you to watch it a second time.
Yeah.
Because that could make the difference between like understanding like what's going on and being able to absorb the story and appreciate it. Yeah.
I think our brains, we are so used to seeing, high def movies with lots of colors, and this movie it's silent, it's in black and white, and they have to use like, I found it sometimes hard to tell whenever it was nighttime or daytime, because obviously they couldn't film at night.
Yep.
At the time, so they kind of put these like weird filters,
like blue filter, yellow filter,
to kind of help you determine like what's day and night. So that took some getting used to. And then you're also reading, and the writing, like the font that they use, it's like pretty crazy looking, and the H's look like B's. So when the character came on screen and it was like Hooter, but it looked like butter. I was like, this dude's name is Butter.
This name is Butter. It's like a DBZ character.
Yeah. I love the special effects in this film. Like you mentioned, the way he moves, they used a lot of stop motion.
Okay.
In order to do those movements, there's like a couple scenes where like the carriage is moving along and they just like make it move really fast. They like speed it up.
Speed up the.
And then there's that scene where the premise of the film is Count Orlok, like Hooter is working for this real estate agent, I suppose,
Yes,
called
Knock.
Knock. And Knock is like, hey, there's this count in Transylvania. He really wants to buy a house. Like, you should offer him the empty house across from your house. So he sends Hooter.
Nothing weird about
he
that.
promises him a lot of money, and he sends Hooter off to Transylvania to talk to this count. And Hooter's wife, Ellen, who's just, she's so dramatic.
She's so dramatic.
She's
I'm
such
like,
a
girl,
drama
we need to
queen.
calm down.
She's fainting all the time, and she walks on her tippy toes. Honestly, kind of slayed though. And so Hooter goes to Transylvania to meet this count, and the townspeople are all like, when they hear where he's going, they're like, don't do that.
They're like, are you sure about that?
And
Because
he sees a bunch of weird stuff. He also finds a book at the little inn that he's staying in, and the book is about Nosferatu, and it's got like all these crazy warnings, and he's just so like, he's such a skeptic.
so
He's like, this is
nonchalant
so
about it.
silly and goofy. Like at one point he's reading the book and he literally
throws
just
it
chucks
on the ground. Yeah.
He throws it on the ground.
like,
It's
nah.
so funny. He's like, ah. He's so silly and goofy and smiley. Like he's so unserious.
It's
honestly,
so
Hooter.
cute. Actually, I actually love Uta's like character. And now that I think about it, that we're talking about that, there's so much change from like Uta at the beginning and then Uta like at the very end, especially when he's holding Ellen.
Yeah, he loves his wife.
He loves his wife so much, and I feel like he almost like grows up so much. You know what I mean?
He seems very like naive.
Yes, at the very beginning, because he's just like
he just laughs at every like a little kid almost.
He does, and then he picks these flowers, and I do want to talk about this actually particularly because I noticed something. Like he picks these flowers from the yard and he gives them to Ellen, his wife.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful. And he's like really excited about it to like give them to her. And she's like,
why would you do that?
Oh, such beautiful flowers. Why would you kill them?
Yeah.
And so, it kind of sets this precedent of Ellen representing life and valuing life in all of its forms. And then obviously when he goes to Count Orlok, that like he represents death in all of its forms.
And also like he gives Ellen these flowers that are going to inevitably like die. And then Ellen dies at the end of the film at the hands of Count Orlok.
Yep.
So that was that, I like that.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting. So he goes to visit Count Orlok, and like a bunch of weird stuff is happening, and like you mentioned earlier, he literally finds him in a coffin and he looks dead when he's like roaming around during the day in this like castle. And there's this scene where it's so stop motiony and it's so funny looking, but Count Orlok is like getting ready because he like signs the papers, like he's bought this house.
Let's not mention how horny he is for Ellen, because literally as he like Uta like takes out all the papers, but in so doing he also drops a picture of Ellen on the table, and Count Orlok just goes, ooh, who's that?
And he's like, she has a beautiful neck.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm signing these papers.
Oh my god. No, he's a total creep. And there's a bunch of
it's really funny how you mentioned that Murnau was gay.
Yeah.
Because I actually wrote in my notes, I was like, some gay shit going on. Because like when Uta first gets there, it's like midnight. Yeah. Right? And so Count Orlok like picks him up, takes him to the castle, greets him in, and as they're let me look at my notes here because I think I wrote down what he said. Oh yeah. So he Uta like cuts his finger cutting some bread.
Yeah.
And then Count Orlok is like, ooh, the precious blood. And he sucks his finger. I was like, weird. Oh, Count Orlok. And he was like, what the heck? It's a midnighter. Are you trying to cruise this man? He's married, girl.
It was.
But he also like says a lot of stuff like, oh, lovely man, dear fellow, da 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 da. So I'm like, I was like getting a little bit of gay vibes from that.
Oh my god!
And I almost wonder because it's giving what?
It's giving like the Babadook.
The Babadook, like gay icon, Count Orlok. You see those nails? Clack, 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 clack.
Literally. That's so funny.
No, but like I definitely saw, and I wonder if that was one of those moments where, because back in the day, movies couldn't be gay.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't have any overtly homosexual content.
I mean, like the Germans, like not only were they persecuting like Jewish people, but like gay people as well. Like.
Yeah. I mean, I think at this point, pretty much everywhere
and
was
when I say
doing
Germans,
that.
I mean like Hitler's regime,
Yeah. Although I don't know if the Nazis were quite. When did the Nazis come into power? I think it was later.
Wait, let me see.
Okay, we're looking this up.
Okay, history. Come to power. He came to power in 1933.
Okay, that's 33. There might have been some sentiments before then, you know what I mean? But I do feel like Jewish people gay people were persecuted, have been persecuted throughout time, especially under Christian regimes, which is extremely unfortunate.
So he was appointed Chancellor of Germany in 1933, but I'm sure this dude was involved in politics like since.
Well, he was in jail for a little bit, I think, too. That's where he wrote Mein Kampf.
What's this thing where we like appoint criminals to positions?
You know what? I really should not literally. Whoa, wait, the parallels. Anyway, do not let me be the freaking whatchamacallit, the authority on history here, because I literally I know literally. So
we were like sitting watching this movie, like, when did World War I start? When did it end?
Revealing more big dumb about myself is like, honestly. So literally anything social studies, I honestly cannot say.
Yeah, please don't take everything we say with a grain of salt.
Everything we say, and like double check everything, because as we're like, but anyway, so all that being said, I do know for a fact homosexuals and Jewish people for sure, which are two of the themes in like what we're talking about right now in the film, have faced persecution throughout history under Christian nations, I suppose you could say, or Christian majority nations, and so I feel like this was almost a way for him, the director Murnau, to hide a little bit of that in there, because there's a lot of like very subtle homosexual things throughout movies that people had to hide without being so overt about it. But yeah, this was giving me gay vibes, like, dear fellow, lovely. Oh, what a lovely man. Let me suck your finger. Let me suck that blood.
He did not care about the blood at all. You just wanted to suck that finger. We started talking about something like very serious, but I was about to say, like, I know a nail tech hates to see Count Orlok
walk in. It's like, this bitch. It's like, I have to stop closing at midnight.
Oh my god. Okay, man. So Hooter gets to this castle, and there's a scene where, well, he's like, your wife is beautiful, sign.
Yep.
And he's like packing up for his big move from Pennsylvania to, Germany. And he's got these big, like, I guess they're not coffins, because you know how there's a difference between like a coffin and like a
box.
They're like these wooden boxes. But isn't a coffin specifically has like that shape? Like, hold on.
No, like basic, simple coffins can literally just be a box.
So there's coffin and then there's a casket.
Oh.
And it's the shape and the lid and the material. Coffins are tapered to fit the body with 6 sides and a wider top than bottom. Caskets are rectangular with 4 sides and a more uniform look.
Okay. So there's really more like caskets.
Yeah. So it's these wooden boxes, and Count Orlok like hops into. They're like stacked in like almost a pyramid.
Yeah, pyramid
on top of this cart. And it's all stop motion. He like hops in, and then the lid by itself closes.
Which begs
over
the question:
him.
Does he have psychic powers?
Yeah, like he's got telepathy or telekinesis or something.
Oh yeah, telekinesis. Yeah.
Telepathy's the other one.
The other with the mind reading.
And then it just like the cart goes away, like, and it's very stop motiony, and it's a little silly looking, and you see that in several parts of the film where the doors will just automatically open, because there's like this super iconic scene of
Count Orlok,
Nosferatu, like standing at the doorway, and the doors open by themselves. And I wrote that it's kind of interesting.
So I will say that particular scene is so extremely iconic and still effective to this day, because when that door opens, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. I mean, in so many movies, you're like, don't open the door, like, don't open the door, like, but what I was gonna say is that we're so used to like, this very good CGI in films in 2024, that seeing that film, that this really old film, it looks almost silly, but I tried to look at it from a different perspective of like, imagine the effect that would have had for audiences at the time. And there's a couple different parts where like literally he just like disappears, which like, how did they do that?
How did they do that back then?
I know,
that's crazy. Yeah.
How are they like cutting stuff?
I don't know. I wonder
scissors.
if they like superpose one on the other, or
but I just thought
they do a good job on that.
Super interesting. And I love the scenes. I love the stop motion scenes. They just look so funny.
I do think I want to mention, so back when Utar gets to Transylvania, one of the people mentions like, oh, the werewolf is out at night, and they show a hyena.
Yes.
So there's no hyenas in Transylvania, by the way. I looked it up. So they just like shot some random hyena somewhere.
Just some random hyena.
And then what's up with the werewolf? That seems like a whole nother aspect of like the lore mythology that they literally do not mention werewolves again.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the only part that werewolves are mentioned. And I wonder if that's where the rivalry came between werewolves and vampires. Because, that's like a thing.
Yeah. That's like a huge plot line in the Vampire Diaries.
Vampire Diaries, Twilight.
How can I forget about Twilight?
Did you ever watch Underworld?
No.
I love those movies. Underworld. It's like the vampires versus lichens.
Dude.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a big pop culture rivalry. Lichens, yeah. Lycanthropy is what you call werewolf.
I just was thinking of like lichen is in like the
Lycan. Lycanthropy.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Lichen, like LICH.
Yeah.
Like the symbiotic relationship
between algae and a fungus. And you can find them in primary succession because they're pioneer species.
Creating soil.
No, lycanthropy, yes.
Lycanthropy, yeah. So that was like surprising to me, especially the first and second time I watched them. Yeah. To where it's like,
I also love that they didn't even use a wolf. Like, wouldn't a wolf be easier to get to than a hyena in Germany? Like, maybe someone just happened to have a hyena.
But maybe that's why like people didn't really know what a hyena looked like, so it looked more otherworldly, or maybe more exotic, or maybe more whatever.
I see that. I can
see that. That's something that was really interesting to me. I love that they threw in the little werewolf mythology in there. Which, by the way, side note, I'm extremely excited for Wolfman.
Yeah.
That movie looks incredible.
Oh, what's her name with the curly blonde hair?
I don't remember her actual name.
Oh, I love her.
But she's a great actress.
She's amazing.
Yeah, no hyenas in Europe. So, and then one last thing I would like to say about like towards the end of the movie, Count Orlok goes into so the reason he has all these caskets with him is because they have to like sleep next to or with soil from their grave in order for their powers to in order for them to like draw their power from that. So if he like goes by himself, then he would probably die. So he takes all these caskets. Well, these caskets are filled with soil from his grave, and they're filled with rats. And people, we assume as audience members that the rats are the things that are like spreading this plague around. But it's also implied that it's actually Count Orlok killing people.
Because when Count Orlok like gets off the ship, people start dying. And actually, one of my favorite shots of the film, it's Ellen looking out the window, and it's this sort of narrow street with houses on either side, and it's like a parade of coffins from the dead people due to this plague, which is what they're blaming all these deaths on, because they mentioned that they have like these bites.
Yeah.
Because at one point, doesn't Hooter like write her, and he's like, I have these 2 weird bites.
He's like, the mosquitoes are crazy.
And they're like right next to each other.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Yeah.
So, so the people are looking for somebody to blame for this. And
they need a scapegoat.
They need a scapegoat, and they choose Knock.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was really interesting to me, they have no evidence of this.
Yeah.
They just like, he's crazy and he attacked a police officer, so he must be the cause of the plague. And it's like, that does not correlate.
No.
But then
he's a little weird looking.
He's a little weird, but it doesn't mean that he brings plague.
With Count Orlok, so kind of he did bring plague.
No, but he didn't though. Oh well, I guess he set in motion
He did. Well, and he calls him master.
That's true. Well, I also think that the letter that he read at the very beginning, well, it was either in code or that was like a spell that he put on Knock. I don't know which one, which of the two,
The one with the alchemical symbols that the producer
could have been a spell that Count Orlok, or it could have been code that only Knock could read.
For sure.
So anyway, one of the interesting things to me, when there's like a mob chasing Knock, and they come across this field, and they come across a scarecrow, and they destroy the scarecrow. Yes. And I'm just like
tear a scarecrow apart. Because I guess they're just so angry, this mob.
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to like the scapegoating. Yeah. They don't care what it is, who it is. They just want to take out their anger and fear out on something or somebody. Yeah. They take it out on the scarecrow before they can take it out on Knock.
Yeah.
And, I think that probably was intentional, if you ask me, to sort of, it's kind of a metaphor, I suppose,
Yeah.
for the scapegoat.
And it goes with this theme of like the other, like
Yeah.
something that's not part of your community, you like reject it, especially like in times of like plague, like because we talked about COVID a little bit after
Yeah.
we watched this movie.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're like, okay, like I don't know you. You need to stay away. I don't know where you've been. I have like my bubble, my small community that I'm hanging out with right now, and like anything that's, you know, quote unquote other, like I don't want it near me. Destroy it, you know?
Destroy it, yeah. All right, we're going to move on to the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think we've actually...
Yeah,
not
spooky.
the ugly, the spooky, yeah. Good, bad, and spooky. I think actually we have talked about most of it, but let's kind of like go through that structure a little bit. So what is the good for you, Mara?
I love the setting and the mood in this film.
Yes.
I thought they did such a good job of creating this very like eerie atmosphere. I also love the cinematography.
Yes.
It's such a beautiful film. I think it's beautiful. I thought it was so good. I thought the acting was amazing. Like Ellen was great. She was so dramatic. I love the stop motion and the special effects that they use. And then I have in my good, I have the scene with the parade of coffins. I love that scene. It's so like haunting.
Yes, agreed.
And those were coffins, not caskets.
So, I love this movie too. I think the eerie feeling that it gives you, just like you said, like the atmosphere, the ambiance,
the vibe.
The vibe, it's excellent. All these years later, over 100 years later, I think they did a phenomenal job with it.
Yeah.
I love Count Orlok.
Yes.
Queen.
Yeah.
Honestly, can Count Orlok be the next gay icon?
Yeah, like
Please,
he
gays.
needs like the Babadook and Count Orlok. Like,
I'm gonna call the council, and we're going to make a decision. Yes,
yes,
the council of gays. He looks so freaky, you know, still effective over 100 years later.
Yeah.
I love the hands, the shoulders.
Yeah.
Shoulder padded up to the gods.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like Queen. The crazy eyebrows.
Yeah.
I mean, what a great character design.
I wonder
think.
how they like made him up to look like that. Like,
I don't know. I mean, well,
like, did they have spirit gum back then?
that's true, you know, because like the technology is very different.
Yeah.
I don't know, but he looks great.
I think also they probably had a lot of room for it to look a little bit silly because, you know, obviously it was an old camera, so the quality is not that great. Right.
So then you could get away with a little bit more. Yeah. And then the iconic door scene.
Oh.
I actually love the door scene because this is like Uta's like second night in the castle, and he's basically being stalked by Count Orlok in his room. And the first thing Uta does is he like opens the door to leave his room.
Yeah.
And he sees Count Orlok at the end of the hallway, which, by the way, is a horror movie trope.
Yeah.
Right? Like you see the monster at the end of the hallway and you're like,
absolutely.
Are they going to move closer?
Yeah.
And Count Orlok just sits there. He closes the door and he's like,
and you know when you look away, like when you look back, that monster's
going to be closer. But that was like one of the first times that trope had been used. Because it's horror was such a new like genre film.
Yeah. Also, am I recalling incorrectly, but doesn't he get under the blankets?
Yes, he does. Uta jumps on the bed and gets under the blankets.
What are the blankets gonna do for you, Hooter?
Okay,
but like that's a thing too. Like you get under the blankets to protect yourself against the scary
that's a
vampire.
thing. Yeah, and I love humans. It's an instinctual thing that we do, right?
Yeah.
To when you're scared, your instinct is to hide.
Yeah.
Even if it's under the covers.
Yeah.
So then, he closed the door, gets under the covers, and then the door opens by itself to reveal Count Orlok standing in the door frame.
Yeah,
and
it's the first time you like get a good look of him.
Get a really good look
the
because he's been wearing like hats and stuff like that, you know, like which Queen.
Yeah.
It is such a creepy reveal.
Yeah.
Because then he walks into the room, right? Mm-hmm. And anyway, that is such a great scene. I love that scene. One of the best scenes in horror to this day, I think, because it is still so scary.
Yeah.
Now, you know,
and super iconic and, you know, influential.
Influential, 100%. What about the bad?
I guess if the stuff about anti-Semitism of the film is true, that would be bad. And also, I don't love that the story was wrongfully used. Like they totally stole the storyline from Dracula, which. Yeah. Not great, but I will forgive it because of the how iconic this film is and the effect that it has had
And
on
time heals all wounds.
vampire mythology. I'm so sorry to Bram Stoker, but I mean, yeah, I think that would be like my bad. What about you?
Okay, that's true. Yeah, it's more like the underlying, not like the film itself.
Yes, exactly.
I honestly don't think there's anything bad about the film itself. I think it's wonderful. I would have maybe liked a little more exposition on Ellen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like what we see of Ellen, she has like one line probably, and then the rest of the time she's either sleepwalking or fainting. And it's kind of like, okay, I want a little bit more background.
Yeah.
Which honestly, kind of cool that I think the new Nosferatu by Robert Eggers gives her a lot more agency.
Yes, because it's gonna be Lily Rose.
Yeah,
Depp.
Lily Rose Depp,
Yeah.
and literally the trailers are all her speaking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Let women talk.
Let women talk.
Let women speak.
You know, women can do more than faint.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Come on, Murnau.
I mean, she literally is the one who kills the vampire, though.
She literally like through her own sacrifice,
Yeah.
right? So I wish we would have gotten a little more depth to
Yeah.
Ellen's character instead of being like the sacrificial lamb, you know, character. Which I love that trope too, but
Yeah.
want more depth. And then of course I agree with all your stuff. Like if they're like the anti-Semitism, I guess we won't ever really know.
Yeah.
Without stereotyping ourselves.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
I hope that it's not true,
Yeah.
but if it is, then it is kind of problematic.
Yeah, for sure. But it also, this movie was made 100 years ago.
100 years ago, yeah, very different time. So what about the spooky, Mar?
Count Orlok himself. This iconic scene with the door, and so he does move in across the Hooter's house.
Oh my God.
And he, like, Ellen will just look out the window and he's just like staring
Yeah.
at her from this, like,
Oh, she does have that second
broken
line.
window.
This is my view every night.
Yeah.
It's just Count Orlok, like
every night he's just like and he's a
Staring
little
at her.
bit silly looking, but
He
I think
is.
there's definitely like a really cool effect. And I think the spooky, like the general atmosphere of the film itself is very like
yeah,
spooky.
it is.
What about you? What's your spooky?
I definitely agree with you on that. I also love that he moves ethereally fast. Like
Yes.
like there's a very supernatural feeling of the way he moves.
Yeah.
How fast, how strong, and how blocky.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's definitely
Yeah.
weird, and I think that's super spooky. I love Count Orlok. That's definitely the spookiest part of the film for me.
Yes.
And just the way he stares,
Yeah.
those big eyes and those
And his teeth.
freaking weird eyebrows and his needle-like teeth. Like
Yeah.
it looks a little silly, but also kind of weird,
Yeah.
like
And
spooky.
he himself looks a little bit rat-like, honestly. 'Cause
Yes,
rats
he
have
does.
Teeth.
Yeah.
Rats have teeth like that.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't notice that. Yeah, you're right. Rat Boy Summer.
Rat Boy Summer. Jeremy Allen White, where are you at?
Where you at?
Jeremy Allen White lookalike contest
Honestly,
in my house.
yes. In my house. Oh my God, I love that. So, what would you rate this movie?
What am I rating it out
Let's
of?
rate this movie in how many rat coffins you would pack to move into your new house across the way from the person you're gonna eat.
Yeah, I would pack 4 rat coffins.
Okay.
Four
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. 4 out of 5.
Rat coffins, yeah.
And purely because it's amazing and I recognize the influence of this film, but a lot of the time I'll rate a movie like how much I like it based on how likely I would be to like watch this film again. And I think I would maybe watch this movie one more time, and after that I'd be like, okay, I got it. That's just, that's my opinion. What about you? How many rat coffins would you pack to move into your new house?
I would agree with that. I would pack 4.
Okay.
4 out of 5 rat coffins.
Okay,
Yeah.
4 out of 5
I
rat
think
coffins.
extremely influential. It's an enjoyable film. I would not watch this movie again on my own, but I would show my friends this movie. Like if my friend was like, "Oh, I love horror, but I haven't seen Nosferatu," I'd be like, "We're gonna watch Nosferatu,"
Yeah.
and I would be willing to watch it with them.
And I can't wait for Robert Eggers'
Oh my
Nosferatu.
God! Which we will be reviewing right after we watch it. Yeah, so that'll be releasing sometime in January, probably.
ASAP as possible.
Yeah, sometime in January, so to give people a little bit of time. But
Yeah.
Robert Eggers is such an incredible director, and I have heard such good things about his movie. I mean, the reviews have been incredible.
The trailer looks amazing.
I've heard the word masterpiece being thrown around.
Ooh,
so,
people be throwing that word around though.
I mean, when it's well deserved, I feel
Yeah.
like. I mean, I don't think no
Yeah.
one's gonna call Red One a masterpiece.
But we're still gonna go watch it.
We're still gonna watch it, so don't kill it. I mean, it's a Netflix movie. in theaters.
It absolutely is, but it has Lucy Liu. So
It has
I'm
Lucy
okay with
Liu
it.
and Chris Evans, so I'm definitely going. But Nosferatu, man, what a great film. I'm definitely thinking 4 out of 5 rat coffins for sure.
Do you want to hear some Letterboxd reviews?
I would love to hear some Letterboxd reviews.
And by the way, on Letterboxd, this movie has 3.9 stars.
Period.
Okay, the first one is I only watched this to understand the SpongeBob reference by Gunnar Larson.
Right. I love this one by Zara. Damn, I can't believe Nosferatu's shadow grabbed Ellen's titty like that.
I forgot about that. Also, Ellen is grabbing her own titty a lot.
She does
in
grab
that
her
scene.
own titty.
She's just like,
I mean, I feel like
it's her emotional support titty. Like she's
her
just,
emotional support.
she's grabbing that thing.
Every time something like that happens, I think of Jennifer's body. That Jennifer's body line is like, ow, my tit. What a great film.
Oh my god.
It's super fun. This one's by Shoban. Ladies, when we say we like guys who look pale and sleep deprived, this is what we mean.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. I'm just gonna read random ones.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy, PD187, or is it PDF? No, PD187. Why don't vampires wear funny little caps anymore? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like Nosferatu, like Count Orlok, he's
when
wearing
you first
caps,
meet
little
him,
caps.
He's wearing
Yeah,
like a little hat. Yeah.
it's like he's a master of disguise. Okay,
Yeah.
War Queen. That's not Nosferatu. That's just Jeffree Star.
Oh my god.
The shade, Katie. How dare you? But also, I mean,
Let me see what else.
oh man.
Julia said, "Who is this diva?"
Is this Steve? I'm telling you, Count Orlok. I'm gonna, after we get off of this, I'm gonna Google, is Count Orlok a gay icon? And if it says no, I'm going to riot.
The vibe I bring to the function.
I love
people.
that.
That's
Thank
Who
you,
Is This
Letterboxd.
Diva?
You guys are great.
Yeah.
Well, I think that about does it for today. Thank you for joining us, listener. If you enjoyed the podcast, tell your friends about us, and don't forget to rate us 5 stars in whatever app or podcast service you use to bring on the spooks.
Please follow us on our socials by going to scarymovienights.com. Our 2 most used social media platforms right now are Instagram and Facebook, so just search Scary Movie Nights on either platform and you'll find us.
You can also message us through our socials or by sending an email to spooky@scarymovienights.com. Tell us what you think about Nosferatu. Did you watch it? Is it your pint of blood? How many rat coffins would you pack to move into a new house? My name is Joanne.
And I'm Mariana.
And thanks for joining us for another Scary Movie Night. See you in 2 weeks. Stay
Stay
spooky. Honestly, I'm gonna totally do the Count Orlok look for Halloween next year, probably. Dude, I was. But honestly, oh my god. And the Babadook. No, but you should do the we should do like Count Orlok, but what do you call it when you like glamorize?
Oh, like yassified.
The yassified Orlok and Babadook. We should go do that. Yes. Clack 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 clack.